Okay, this is really interesting. Hello and welcome to My Tiny Bottles, the project where I'm exploring my grandmother's legacy of miniature liquor bottles, one tiny bottle at a time. I'm your host, Tammy Coxon, and this is Reveal Video 18. I'm going to pick some more bottles from my grandma's collection to research and write and talk about. Now, since the last reveal video, we had to do some rearranging of the bottles. They were leaking and I needed to move them, and it's all very complicated. And in this process, which I outsourced to my boyfriend so I would not get spoiled, we did a count. And so I can say that I am actually more than halfway through the bottles. I thought there might be 250, 300, all the way up to 400 bottles. It turns out, barring any weird discoveries, there are 182. So we are well through the discovery phase, but still have a lot of research and writing and reporting to talk about. So let's get into the discovery. This one I can see poking up from the top of the box, and it has a little tack strip on the top, and I love tack strips, so I am pulling this one. This is Canadian Club Classic, aged 12 years. And so this is really good timing, and I promise I did not plan this. This is totally random because in the last reveal video, we unboxed up a heap of Canadian Club stuff. Those were all in plastic bottles and half empty. This is in a beautifully full glass bottle. So that should be really interesting to add into the Great Canadian Club taste-off. All right, so that's one. Back to Scotch. This is J&B, Rare Blended Scotch Whiskey. Not as old looking as some of the other scotches that I've found that, come from the 60s or 70s. I wouldn't be surprised if this one is younger. So this is a blended scotch, 50 mils, 40% alcohol by volume, has both English and French on it. So this one would have been purchased in Canada. All right, cool. Interesting note here, it says, it's got royal warrants on it, and royal warrants came up in the news lately because Prince Charles, King Charles now, gets to declare his own whole royal warrants, and he got rid of a bunch of the old ones. So some brands that used to be able to advertise them as having been granted a warrant from British royalty can't do that anymore. So that's pretty cool. All right, next up, a little floating loose one. These are all glass so far, I like that. Black Velvet. That's cool. So this is another Canadian whiskey. We definitely are having a whiskey day today. So this has come up a lot because it was produced by Gilbey's of Canada at their Palliser. So Gilbey's of Canada and something called Palliser Distilling in Lethbridge, Alberta. And so every time I've researched something that's from Palliser, so that was like the Mandalay, the weird dry lemon thing, that came from Palliser. I always find the same article about Black Velvet and its production in Palliser. So now we have some actual Black Velvet, which of course doesn't say anything about being made in Alberta at the Palliser Distilling place. So who knows? That's funny. All right. Whiskey, whiskey, whiskey. All right, let's see. Yeah, they do appear to have grabbed all glass. More vodka. Okay, this is Wolfschmidt vodka, genuine, authentic, product of Canada, Wolfschmidt Limited, Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. If you've been paying attention to My Tiny Bottles for a while, you might be able to guess from the words Waterloo that this is almost certainly a Seagram's product in one way or another, which is good because I think we're due for another installment of the Seagram's story. So maybe that will be coming to you with this one. Interesting. Tax strip. Do I have anything? So this is a Canadian bottled and bond under government supervision tax strips, which are much less useful than the American ones because they don't have kind of any dating information on them. So not as handy. All right, last but certainly not least. Okay, this is really interesting. This is sherry. This is Tío Pepe González Bayas. I don't know what that means. Sherry from Jerez. Very dry sherry, it says. Anything else on here? Produced and bottled in Jerez, Spain. English and French. Very well sealed. Really nice level. Let's look to about there on this one. So sherry is sherry is a fortified wine, comes from the Jerez region of Spain, and a lot of it is oxidized. So it's purposefully been, exposed to some air and the complicated process, which I'm sure I will tell you all about when it comes to this time to talk about this bottle. Those oxidized sherries can really keep for quite a long time once they're in bottles because, what happens to make bottles go bad? They're exposed to air, and oxidized sherry is already bad, according to some people. So this could be really tasty, and I actually really adore sherry, so super excited to taste this one. Well, this might be one of the best picks ever, so I'm really looking forward to going off and researching those. If you want to find out what I find out about them, please be sure to subscribe. You can also go to mytinybottles.com and subscribe to my weekly newsletter, so I'll send right to your email the week's content. You can become a Patreon supporter, and my Patreon supporters sometimes get a little behind the scenes and advance peeks about what bottles are coming up as I do my research and post little research tidbits there. If you are a paid supporter, you also have access to some bonus content and some special perks. So check that out, or follow me on social media, like, subscribe, comment, share, do all the things. Cheers.